Wow. I love to talk. It's what I do every single day. And even I was left pretty speechless about what happened to the Utah Jazz last night. In this video, we're going to talk about their epic collapse of 25 points in the third quarter of Game 6. They lose the game. Their season's over. We're going to talk about what happened in that game, what's next for Utah, all those things we're going to be talking about in today's video. Okay, the Utah Jazz, a team with the best record in the entire league. They've had a tough series against the LA Clippers. Mike Conley has not played the entire time. Kawhi Leonard is out now as well. And going into Game 6, I'm sure Utah fans felt pretty confident. Mike Conley was playing. Donovan Mitchell, despite a sprained ankle, was playing. And still no Kawhi Leonard. And at the time that Kawhi got hurt at the end of Game 4, I think a lot of people just wrote the series off and said, well, it's the Clippers. They're not going to be able to clutch this up. That's the end of the series. And then Utah proceeds to lose the next two games, despite the fact the Clippers don't have Kawhi Leonard, and now their season is over. And I was watching the game, and I was about 2 possessions away from just turning the game off and going to bed. It's like midnight local time for me. I'm trying to go to bed. And the Jazz are up 25 in the third quarter. Okay, maybe it's time. Clippers hit a 3, another 3, a 2. All of a sudden, it's a 15-point game. And the Jazz just blow it. There's really only one direction for me to go here if we're going to talk about the game from last night. I got to do the Rudy Gobert rant. So Gobert is a guy that we all kind of know in the postseason has had some issues defensively where he's a really good rim protector, and clearly his presence on the floor defensively is felt by teams that are trying to get to the rim all the time, right? However, against some teams that space the ball really well in the past, some of those Rockets teams with James Harden, it's been an issue, and Gobert has left wide open three-point shooters, and it has really hurt the Jazz defense. And this is a guy that won the Defensive Player of the Year award this year, his third time winning the award. Rudy Gobert can't win any more defensive player. He's banned from winning the Defensive Player of the Year award because he was the sole reason that the Jazz gave up a 25-point lead on the road in a season-saving Game 6, potentially, for Utah, in an elimination game. The Jazz's strategy against the Clippers' small ball lineup that included Paul George, Terrence Mann, Marcus Morris, Nicholas Batum, essentially all wings and guards, was they're going to pick a guy and they're not going to guard him. At times it was Patrick Beverley, but for the most part it was Terrence Mann, a player that has some talent offensively but is only starting because Kawhi Leonard is hurt. They left Terrence Mann wide open time and time and time again, and I think he ended up with 39 points. There's no scenario in which Terrence Mann should end up with 39 points, but if you're an actual legitimate NBA rotation player and you get left wide open in the corner 5 times in a row and you have a hot hand, you're going to make some shots. And I could not fathom what I was watching because it's not like Gobert was punishing anybody on the other end of the floor. There are no post moves. There's no overwhelming strength. He's one of the better offensive rebounders in the league, but he didn't really get that many offensive rebounds against the small ball lineup, much less against a lineup that actually has big guys out there. And he just wasn't giving them anything. And he led the team in minutes. He had the worst plus minus on the team. I could not understand why he was still in the game when it was so clear that that was the only reason that Utah was starting to lose. The Clippers were hitting every single shot down the stretch. Yes, Patrick Beverley hit some tough shots. Paul George hit some tough shots at times when they defended well, but they basically just said, hey, hope these guys don't miss. And I know it's happened in the past, right? Golden State gets so much credit for multiple title runs where they just left someone like Tony Allen wide open in the corner. Terrence Mann was clearly not Tony Allen last night. He's not prime Rajon Rondo that can't even get the ball to the rim. Like, Terrence Mann made multiple threes in a row. He was getting to the rim and finishing as well. And then even later in the game when you're thinking, Rudy Gobert's out there, he's going to start to do some positive things. Reggie Jackson was getting to the rim and finishing on Rudy Gobert, supposedly the Defensive Player of the Year. Supposedly the reason he's on the floor is to defend and to protect the rim at the highest level the league has to offer, and he wasn't helping them in any way, yet he stayed in the game. I was screaming at my TV for Rudy Gobert to come off the floor. And the Jazz just refused to do it, and their season's over as a result. And so that has a lot of implications long-term for Utah in terms of what they're supposed to do with this roster. Fortunately for them, pretty much everybody is signed for at least the next 2 seasons. The only 2 upcoming free agents they have are this offseason, Mike Conley, who we'll talk about in a second, and then the following offseason, Joe Ingles. Everybody else is signed for at least 2 more seasons after this one. But this was supposed to be the year for Utah. They have home court advantage throughout the playoffs. They're the best. They have the best record in the Western Conference. Guys around them in their conference are dropping left and right. Kawhi Leonard hurts his knee. Chris Paul might not play the first couple of games of the conference finals. And they blow Game 6 on the road in LA to a Clippers team that is supposed to be the team choking these kinds of games away. Utah was up 3-1 in the playoffs last year as well and lost to Denver. They were up 25 in the third quarter of an elimination game in Game 6 and gave the game away. Quickly, let's talk about Mike Conley. The Jazz are already very, very far over the salary cap, and I'm sure they want to bring Mike Conley back, but this is a guy that's going to have value. Still a borderline all-star caliber player in a free agency class that doesn't feature a lot of guys like that. Is a good point guard, is someone that can really run your offense in a significant way, and this is going to be a guy that's going to want to chase the title. He's going to want to be on a team that is going to give him a legitimate chance of winning an NBA championship. And I'm not saying Utah isn't that team, but there could be potentially better opportunities for him out there. And if Utah loses him for nothing, that is a huge hit to their roster. But when I say this was supposed to be the year, this is what I mean. Look at this Jazz roster. Everybody, other than Donovan Mitchell, is between 28 and 34 years old, 34 being Mike Conley. And on the low end, guys like Jordan Clarkson are 28, 29. Everybody's in their prime. This was the season collectively. Their guys stayed healthy with the exception of Conley missing some games at the end of the year and Donovan Mitchell with the ankle injury, which is not the reason they lost this series, by the way. You don't get to pull the injury excuse when the other team is missing Kawhi Leonard and you lose both games that Kawhi doesn't play in, and you lose 4 straight games after going up 2-0 in the series. You don't get to pull the injury card and say that Mike Conley missed games, say that Donovan Mitchell was hobbled. Donovan Mitchell was still very good in this Game 6, and Mike Conley and Kawhi Leonard, the comparison of those two players in terms of the impact in the series is not close, all due respect to Mike Conley. They lost this series because of the Rudy Gobert thing and the fact that the Clippers just made a ton of shots in Game 6, but that's what happened. That's why you need to win Game 5 at home, because the way that teams shoot threes now, This game is a perfect example. With the amount of threes that teams shoot now, these kinds of games are possible. It's why you need to win Game 5 at home. You can't count on going on the road and winning Game 6 because Utah is an incredibly volatile offensive team this season where they can be really good and then at times not score a ton because they're missing shots because of the amount of threes they take. They led the league in three-point attempts throughout the season, and that played itself out in this game. When they were making threes, it was going well. Once they started to miss threes, it wasn't. And the Clippers just had one of those games where they made 20-plus threes, and it's very, very difficult to win an NBA game when the other team makes 20-plus threes. And so that's why you have to win Game 5 at home. I'm gonna continue to talk about the offseason stuff, but I can't stop ranting. It's unbelievable what happened to them. So they got to figure out what to do with Conley, and then, like I said, Ingles will come off the books next offseason, And it's nice that all those guys are coming back, but the problem is they have no salary cap space. They do own all of their picks except for their own 2022 pick. And so maybe they'll look to shake up this roster. Maybe there's a possibility of a Rudy Gobert trade, which I guess we could talk about in a second. But ultimately, they were the best team in the league in the regular season this year. They have a really good team. They had every chance in the world to make the conference finals, and that just didn't happen. So when you're a franchise like Utah, typically they just want to be consistent and they just want to stick with their group, and that's probably what they're going to do. I wouldn't expect to see any kind of seismic changes this offseason to this roster. They're going to try and bring back Mike Conley on some kind of fair deal money-wise, but ultimately, this was supposed to be the year, and maybe it will down the road, but it's just got to be crushing, absolutely crushing for your team to lose a 25-point lead in the third quarter on the road in an elimination game. You're already looking at Game 7 at home. It's the Clippers. They're the team that's not supposed to be mentally tough. They're the team that's supposed to give these kinds of games away. But time after time in this postseason, down 2-0, losing both home games to Dallas, down 3-2, losing Game 5 to Dallas in the first round, down 2-0 to start this series. Kawhi Leonard goes out after Game 4, and they win 4 in a row, and they win the series. All credit in the world to the Clippers. A Gobert trade. This is a guy that's on a huge, huge contract. At some point, he's going to be making $50+ million on his current contract. He is important to this team, and I don't want to make it seem like, it's a complete and utter disaster and Rudy Gobert is a non-factor to the basketball team. That's, of course, not the case. But in the postseason, when you continually have defensive struggles like this, when defense is supposed to be your thing, it's obviously an issue, and they don't have a backup plan. They don't have someone that they can put out there at the 5 spot to bring them the versatility that the Clippers have used to get to this point in the postseason. And I don't think anybody's trading for Rudy Gobert. I doubt the Jazz are going to look to trade him because, again, it's not like this was the 4 seed that blew a huge lead. They were the best team record-wise in the entire league, had an awesome regular season, 6th man of the year, defensive player of the year. Donovan Mitchell is going to make an All-NBA team. Mike Conley made an All-Star team finally. It was a great season. They just didn't finish it well. I don't think anybody wants Rudy Gobert on that contract, and he provides a ton of value to Utah. But at some point down the road, we're probably going to be looking at that one and thinking, does anybody really want this guy at all? I don't know. Crazy, absolutely mind-blowing what happened yesterday. I still can't believe it. I really, really can't. All the credit in the world to the Clippers. Congrats to them on their first Western Conference Finals appearance ever. I was looking forward to hopefully being Clippers Suns in the conference finals. That's the wish that ended up getting. Hopefully Chris Paul plays as many games as possible. Hopefully Kawhi Leonard comes back from whatever knee injury issue he is having. And one of those teams is going to make the finals. Either the Clippers are going to make the first finals in franchise history, or Chris Paul is going to make it for the first time in his career. That's super, super fun and super exciting. I can't wait. And it's tomorrow, by the way. As we're recording this video, the Western Conference Finals start tomorrow, which is kind of insane. Yeah, that's the end of the video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you're looking for more videos from me, box on screen, leave a like rating if you enjoyed it as well. And yeah, hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day, and I will see you all next time.